Pieces town works.
Okay, let's call the zoning commission meeting of June 5th to order, please. We have 4 members here, so we have a quorum. We have no alternates, so we have no replacements. Let's consider the minutes of the 15th of May and the special meeting of the 31st of May. Does anyone have any comments, corrections? They look okay to me, sir. Okay. Do we correct it?
No. You got it. 6 out of 7, that's right.
Okay. So we'll adopt the minutes as submitted. First is a public hearing, application 1716. Mr. Secretary. This is included.
Application 1716 of Lisa Cherian and Chris Millard, agents for a text amendment to section 4.1, allowed use table, and section 4.3.3, commercial use categories of the Simsbury Center Code to create an additional allowed use titled Small Event Center.
Okay.
Hello. So I'm Chris Millard from Phase Zero Design. I'll basically go through the text amendment really quickly. Essentially, my client is looking to introduce a new use to the town center code under, I believe it's SC1. And we're calling it a small event center. Basically, it's a proposed space for small private gatherings, whether it's for family events or recreational events with friends or for different types of gaming. As you can see on the proposal that I have here, small event center, I've listed a bunch of different things. So you can see there's possibilities for a seminar, conferences, special interest clubs, maybe even some after-school activities, live-action role-playing, small concerts, and as I mentioned, family or social events. The space that we're looking at, actually I should back up. The allowable use basically is restricted to those small events. When you look at the town center code, it talks about like large recreational spaces, but nothing that this really fits within. So that's why we're asking for the text amendment. Not sure what else there is to add to it, other than reading through it. We did mention under the description, general commercial uses support lighter private gatherings, as I mentioned, on a daily or regular basis for scheduled events. Gatherings may include entertainment, education, and nature, but shall not exclude occupancy or shall not exceed occupancies greater than 49. And then also, we've noted the possibility of preparing baked goods, not for sale, but really for educational and recreational in nature. And then also the possibility of being capable of catering foods and alcohol. Any questions?
Okay. Questions from the commission?
Well, I had some suggested changes. So let's listen to staff first.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just from staff's perspective, just administrative point, the application was received just about a month ago. We scheduled the hearing this evening. We have 35 days to close this public hearing, 65 days after the close of the hearing to make a decision, and the applicant can consent to an additional 65 days worth of extensions. With regards to the proposed language, staff would make a recommendation that the last sentence in the first paragraph, catering of food and alcohol shall be allowed. we would recommend that you strike the term "and alcohol." Alcohol, will say distribution and/or sale, consumption on a property is covered by special exception under your existing zoning regulations, whether it be in town or in the Simsbury Center Code. So I think including alcohol here would add confusion and potential conflict with an existing standard that occurs. Under the present permitting policies of the commission, if this were to go forward and be a proposed new regulation, when an entity proposed to do a use like this, they would apply for site plan approval as an application, and then they will also submit a second application for a special exception for the, in essence, distribution or ability to have alcohol on the premises. And the distinction in our regs doesn't really dictate whether it's for sale, for distribution, or available for consumption. It really deals with the consumption of an alcoholic beverage on a property. So that would already be covered under our existing regulations. As a special exception requires a public hearing and the evaluation criteria under the special exception. So I think including it here may add some confusion of, do I still need a special exception because it says I can do this? And I don't think it was the intent of the applicant to undermine or add any additional permit layering to what already existed in town. So that may answer Mr. Gray's question.
It's one.
Yeah, that was one of ours from before.
Right.
Go ahead.
You ready for mine?
Absolutely.
Yeah, mine was on the small event center uses shall include. By saying shall include, you're actually saying it has to include those. Because you just should be,
May.
uses include. So you're just saying,
Okay.
yep, so they don't have to provide all of those.
Good catch.
And then I'm wondering if we limit it to 49, because there might be other buildings that this would work for.
That is what the applicant is proposing. The concern I would have is that you noticed it for an event center of 49. In my experience, you could always be more restrictive in your nature of modifying a language. But if you eliminated 49, you may run amiss of what your public hearing notice said. You noticed for an event center not to exceed 49, to not set a limit on it, could jeopardize the viability of your initial notice. I understand your point, but this is, as a small, the issue here is you can hold events, and we have indoor recreational facilities that are allowed in the Simsbury Center Code. They're not allowed on the second floor. So part of this regulations deals with the fact that some of the uses they're proposing here could occur on the first floor, but couldn't occur on the second floor, because we don't allow indoor recreation on the second floor. Second floor is supposed to be reserved, in essence, for office or residential space.
This application does ask, or the text amendment does ask for the small event centers to be allowed on the upper stories as well.
First and second.
Questions? Other questions, Mike?
Well,
Jackie?
Yeah.
Kevin's point about the size limitation is a challenge. He's not wrong. I mean, are we going to end up editing this thing again someday when somebody wants a 75 or 55 or 65 person event center?
There is always that potential.
Is there a way to limit it to the location that it's going to land in? Is there a way to, or do we have to say, because we've noticed for 49? Yeah.
Again, a conservative view is you've noticed it as a particular scale. A change to the regulations not to exceed occupancy greater than 50, 49 actually.
49.
I absolutely understand there may be other venues in town, but again, those other venues under indoor recreation may already be covered on the first floor and may not need a text amendment. And this is primarily focused on two aspects: to clarify the fact it can occur on a ground floor and a second floor, as well as solidifying the fact that puzzle rooms and mystery rooms are also covered under indoor recreation. Under a definition of indoor recreation, it's pool hall, bowling alley type uses. 10 years ago when the regulation was developed, puzzle rooms were not necessarily contemplated or out there as a recreational type activity. Now it seems to be a generally acceptable business within a community.
And if we agreed, I guess, to this would allow recreational uses on the second floor?
Small event center
Yeah.
uses on the second floor. Would not open up second floor to indoor recreation. It would only open up the second floor to small event
Do
center.
we have to specify that?
Yeah, I mean, that's.
It's clear by the
Okay.
nature of the way the regs
Uh-oh.
written.
Hi.
I'd just like to move the microphone over in front of one of the principal speakers here. That'll improve things a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
So again, the way the form has been submitted with the proposed amendments, it would not change the character of your existing regulations as it relates to indoor recreation. It really defines a new category, which is limited to 49 individuals in a building on both the first and second floor. Still requires a secondary application to the commission under site plan, and if alcohol is part of the program, that would require a supplement application for a special exception under your regulations for alcohol. It just gives them the opportunity to apply for something that isn't allowed presently.
Other questions?
We can't change the other text, because that makes it the way the rest of the uses read. They all say outdoor recreation includes the following, overnight includes the following, to follow the same format. It just should say small event center includes the following. Then be consistent with the rest of the reg.
Right, that's getting rid of shall.
Yep, so shall, uses shall,
Right,
and then adding an S to includes.
okay.
Just for clarity, Kevin?
Yep.
Small event center uses.
No uses, small event center
Includes the following.
And that's the way all the other ones in that section read? Like
Okay,
resale,
that's fine.
retail sales includes, they all read that. So just to be consistent with.
Staff has no objections.
Okay, does anyone in the public wish to speak to this text amendment? We're all here for something else. Okay. Are we ready to close the public hearing? Okay, your motion?
I move that we close the public hearing for application 1716.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carries 4-0. Okay, application 1717 of Ferg Jansen, agent. Can you read that?
Yes, application 1717 of Ferg Jansen, agent, Town of Simsbury, owner, for a special exception pursuant to Article 10, Section H of the Town of Simsbury zoning regulations for a temporary liquor permit for a one-day event at the old Drake Hill Flower Bridge on the property located at 1 Old Bridge Road. Assessors map H11, lot 144, lot 007, Zone R15.
Okay, anyone in the commission have some, you want to make a statement, Mr.?
Ferg Jansen, 3 Foxton Road, West Simsbury. On behalf of the women who run the Flower Bridge, I'm here to request a temporary beer and wine permit for June 14th from 4:30 to 7:30 for our annual Brewers on the Bridge. We've done it, this is the 34th year we've done it, and we'd like your permission to do it again. Any questions?
Is there, we don't have that one. Is there a rain date?
Is there what?
A rain date?
The next day, sorry. It's in the application, I believe. When I filled it out, I put it down.
The other thing, I thought, you just said 7:30, I thought the application said 7. Just to make sure it's the same, that's all, not,
Seven, I mean,
It goes to 7:30, doesn't it, normally? Make sure when we
usually does.
yeah,
make a motion, we motion properly.
I thought I read
It
7.
says draft beer, not bottled beer.
Okay. Any
Questions?
questions further from the commission? Anybody from the public care to speak, comment on this application? Are we ready to close
Okay,
this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close the public hearing for application 1717.
Second it. Seconded by Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 4-0. We have application 1718, Kevin Fusilier.
Application 1718 of Kevin Fusilier, L.A., Malone and McBroom, Inc., applicant, Town of Simsbury owner, for a special exception pursuant to Article 7, Section A.4, uses permitted as a special exception in any zone. Article 7, Section M, floodplain zone, and Article 10, Section C.1.f, sign standards by zones of the Town of Simsbury zoning regulations in connection with the Town Forest Park Improvement Project on a property located at 86 Town Forest Road, shown on the assessor's map as West Mountain Road, map B14, block 301, lot 016. The work site being approximately 700 feet northwest from where Nimrod Road meets Town Forest Road, zone R40.
Thank you, Kevin. Does the commission have any questions of the, let's have the applicant tell us what they intend
We're
to
just open
do.
right up for questions.
Mr. Chairman, just if those can be turned slightly so that,
Which way are we going? Towards the camera.
so the commission can also see them.
Does that work?
No, you can go more than that.
Is that good?
Where's the camera?
It's right there. It'll work.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Adam Kessler, licensed engineer in Connecticut, as well as a project engineer for the town. This project is first phase of town forest park improvements, part of our open space program. We're essentially making it a bit more accessible and improving the parking lot, access to the trails, which includes a bridge that spans a stream there, and it's a little unsafe right now, so we're going to replace that, and it's within the floodplain, so it's part of the reason why we're here. We also have another new sign proposed for out there, and I don't want to take too much of Kevin's presentation up. Kevin Fusilier is a landscape architect who's the project manager for the project on behalf of the town, and he'll run through the rest of the project and answer any questions you might have as well.
Thank you very much. For the record, Kevin Fusilier, Mylona McBroom, Cheshire, Connecticut. I've been working back and forth with town engineering on this project for quite a while now, and I'll just take you through some of the existing conditions and the proposed elements. The plan in front of you is an existing conditions site plan, topographic survey, just shows some of the existing elements that will be affected by this project. Currently, there's a paved apron leading into a parking area. It's kind of a irregular gravel sand parking area that its footprint has kind of grown over the years. There's some timber guide rail out there to contain vehicles, but it's definitely not any conforming shape for a parking area. It's pretty inefficient. On this plan, also highlighted are two remaining structures. This used to be an old YMCA camp, so there's some old buildings out there that are not used. The town has already demoed a few of them outside inland wetlands purview. There are two currently remaining that are highlighted. In the northeast corner is a old changing station building, timber structure on concrete footings, which the town would like to demo, but it is in the FEMA flood zone. The second structure down at the bottom of the page is a open air pavilion with picnic tables. Part of this project, we just want to freshen it up, give it a new coat of paint, get the graffiti off of it, put some new picnic tables underneath it. So that we propose to stay. Down at the very bottom, towards the end of our project limits, is a timber footbridge. It's in pretty bad shape. I do have photos I can pass out if you're not familiar with it. It's still usable all the time, but it's not conforming, it's not too safe, and it's not accessible. So as Adam mentioned, part of this project is really to open up a portion of this site and make it, at least begin to make the larger site accessible. So the rendered site plan that you see up here shows the first improvement is a formalization of the parking area. The town, having limited budget, has asked us to design it two different ways and bid it if this project goes to bid. One as just a portion of paved parking spaces, so we can get an accessible route, an accessible parking spot. The remainder would then be a dense graded processed stone. The remainder of that area that was sand and gravel before would be skimmed off, add some topsoil to it and seeded so it grows into lawn like the rest of the site. If budget allows, the town would like to pave the whole site. And the number was about 50 cars or 40 cars for the whole site. The next improvement is accessible paved walkways. Paved walkway leading from the accessible spots all the way down to a new timber bridge. Again, there's a secondary access, some timber steps that used to exist, doing a second connection, a more efficient one, we could say, if budget allows, so a little additional paved pathway. I had mentioned the town would like to remove this existing building in the Stratton Brook flood zone, and floodway for that matter. That would just be restored back to lawn area, so the structure would be taken out, the foundations, and it all restored to lawn area. We mentioned the existing pavilion, upgrades to that, and then the last improvement would be remove the existing timber deck and handrails, construct a new timber deck, and actually bring up the pathway on both sides so there's an accessible route over the bridge. But then we end at the south end of that new bridge. We're keeping the existing concrete abutments in place, building the new bridge on top and over top those so we don't have direct impacts to the water course.
So those are in good condition?
They're in good enough condition. We're not, if we were talking about needing vehicular access over it, we would probably go and do something different and still leave them in space but build outside. But again, budget driven on this project and these improvements we designed with a budget in mind. And we think we can get we know we can get a nice, safe, accessible bridge for pedestrians and bikes, but not vehicles. So that really concludes my presentation. As Adam mentioned, we are asking for a new park sign. We want to landscape both sides of the entrance, just a new security access gate so the town has some control limiting access to the site. The existing basketball court on site will remain. We'll just provide a connection from the parking lot to it. And everything else associated with this project is just minor grading and improvements to restore the area that they're working within. S&E controls are all per state regulation. Actually, a natural diversity database ping was hit in this area, so that means there might be box turtles. So we're encircling the whole site in silt fence, which is actually a turtle barrier. So not only will it protect the water courses from sediment and erosion during construction, it will hopefully keep turtles out if they are present.
Is there any guardrail around the parking lot or just
Yeah, the new one or the old one?
the new one?
The new one, again, if the bid documents, the way they're structured, is pull out the guide rail and leave it for the town to use, or the contractor's gonna give a budget number to reinstall it or reinstall new. But potentially, there might not be guide rail at this phase.
If you go with just the gravel one, how are you going to prevent it from growing again? Parking lot.
That's a good point. With the process aggregate and the depth that we're proposing, there'll be a very defined edge. I can't say that some aggregate will not migrate. I don't think it would migrate to the extent that we see out there now, because it is a finer grade,
Yeah,
sand
it may not be
gravel.
it, but just cars parking.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna look like a parking lot and function like a parking lot, and if it's paved, that won't be an issue. And hopefully the budget does allow for them to pave the whole thing. And then maybe put some new guide rail back in.
You know, the guide rail that's there now is only on the eastern edge.
Yeah, there's some at the entrance just to frame the entrance. And that's coming out.
There's some closer
Yeah, and
towards
then
the trees.
there's some right along this
Yeah.
tree line here.
Yeah.
We are grading, our grading plan does have some depressions in here just to really slow down stormwater runoff off the hillside, try to prevent future erosion. There's a few measures put into the design of this to help that out.
The gate to the south and west, is that a vehicle gate? Is that,
There is an access gate, and it brings you over to the Little League field. So the town wants to maintain that. They do use it a few times a year. I think they bring mowers through there, and if they need to bring a pickup truck of
so
material.
that's gonna have vehicular traffic coming out of the southwest corner?
This here is-
And then into that existing gate to the baseball field?
Yeah, this existing gate, we're just
Yeah.
making sure that we designate an area that we don't obstruct, so they still have access to that.
And the path running through the main grass area is going to be paved?
It is gonna be bituminous concrete. We started with stone dust, but experience has shown that we have a section, a lot of this is flat and non-existing grades, but this section through here is gonna be close to 5%
Yeah,
for
yeah,
accessibility.
that's
And you'll just get runoff and have to
Right.
restore it and repair it. So we decided that bituminous would be the best, most durable and easiest to maintain surface.
But why, once you're off that grade, why can't that change?
I think for consistency, also, we do have to ramp up and ramp down from that bridge. It'd be more difficult to do with stone dust.
Yeah, that's right, because it's a step up to that bridge and a step
It's a
down
step
off
up,
that bridge.
and we don't, because of the FEMA flood zone, we don't want to change elevation, so that step up's unavoidable.
And there, that allows access that right now, some people or strollers or certain things can't go on that.
Yeah,
So
but
that's
once they
gonna
get
be-
over the bridge, it's
Oh, no, but I'm
dirt
saying-
trails and potholes and
No,
all
I'm
kinds
just
of fun
saying,
stuff.
Yeah.
from the parking lot to go toward that shelter,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
And
not-
as we
Yeah, that's
started,
a
this is
pavilion at the
an
bottom.
attempt to just get accessibility to the next step. There's many more projects that'll have to occur to make it a fully universally
Yeah.
accessible site.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The gray pad down on the bottom there.
Oh, to the left?
This was another pavilion structure. The town has gone and removed the canopy of it, and the pad still remains. But that was, whenever you went to visit, it was loaded with graffiti and broken glass and other things. So I think at least taking the top off, and I'm just guessing, but it just made it a safer, easier to observe site.
What was the building used for that you removed?
The one that was removed by the town, I think there was some limited storage. I don't think it was being used. Couldn't tell you.
It stored a few items, but nothing of importance. when we asked parts.
Games and stuff like that to play in the field, if I remember correctly. The Boy Scouts use it, the Troop 174 uses that space a lot. So that's why I have some knowledge of the space.
But that building is gone.
Questions? No. Anybody in the public care to speak to this application? Okay, I guess we can close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let Mike do it.
Let Mike do it.
Move we close application 1718.
Thank you, Mike. I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. So application is closed. Now we have application 1719.
Okay, application 1719 of Kevin Fusilier, L.A. Malone and McBroom, Inc. Applicant Simsbury Public Schools owner for special exception pursuant to Article 7, Section A.4, uses permitted as a special exception in any zone, and Article 7, Section M, floodplain zone of the Town of Simsbury zoning regulations in connection with the reconstruction of tennis courts located at Simsbury High School on the property located at 34 Farms Village Road, Assessors Map F11, Block 148, Lot 016, Zone R40.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Lead us
Thanks for
through
having me again. Here with Burke Leclerc, business manager for the public schools. Been working with Burke and the athletic director on this project, which I'm about to show you. The existing site, Simsbury High School. There's existing 6 tennis courts behind the school. It's represented here, these 2 rectangles. So there's 2 batteries of 3 tennis courts. They are asphalt construction courts, meaning after a couple of years, maintenance becomes an annual endeavor to keep asphalt courts from cracking and keep those cracks under control. So they've reached their lifespan. It costs a lot to repair them regularly, and new courts will lessen that greatly. So what we're looking at is demoing all 6 of the courts and reconstructing 6 new courts. And the 6 new courts, 3 will be in the same location as the 3 that are currently closer to Hopbrook in the back of the property in the tree line. So the 3 courts out front that are demoed are going to get restored back to lawn. We're going to harvest that material underneath. We've done geotechnical investigation and use it for the new construction of courts further back in the property, freeing up more space for future activity closer to the school, closer to the stadium. Voila. So the new plan, 6 regulation tennis courts, 2 batteries of 3 courts. This time though, post-tension construction rather than bituminous. Post-tension construction is concrete slabs just like in a parking garage, tensioned together by wiring. 1 slab, 1 giant slab, lots of pressure holding it together. And cracks or hairlines, they don't get as large as they do on asphalt courts, last 30 years and just need to be recolored and relined every 5 to 10 years, depending on the level of use. So new type of construction, partly because we saw how well-built asphalt courts held up in this site. This site is in a flood zone. There is periodic flooding, and the post-tension will hold up to that. The post-tension will also allow us to construct without lifting the courts up. We don't want to be filling in the flood zone, and with asphalt courts built properly, you want to put them on a pedestal, keep water out from underneath them. Post-tension can handle it. So with the new tennis courts, new chain link fencing surrounding, new gates, there is an existing gravel, well, it's broken down to gravel, but paved road and paved sidewalk, part of an accessible route. There's going to be a minor realignment of it and just a reconstruction of the portions that abut our site. So that's pretty much it. There's one item that we've discussed that wasn't included in our plans, and we want to bring it to your attention tonight. If you go out there now, on the courts back here, along half that wall is what's called a backboard or a ball wall. So you can go out there by yourself and hit the ball against the wall. We didn't include it in the design. We've had some discussions about it. The town has asked me to bring it to your attention if it's something we could add to our plans and potentially bid as an alternate. There is desire by some in the town to have that ball wall. And like I said, we just didn't include it in the first design. It's something when we do tennis courts we don't always include, but if it's the desire of our client, we're more than happy to include it. So it's not a structure. It affixes to the chain link fence, has openings on top of the bottom, and they would like to add it to the plans if possible. And that's what I have.
Go ahead, Jackie.
No, how does that work?
It cannot be designed as a manner to be considered an obstruction within the floodplain. So it has to allow freeboard water flow and cannot obstruct the movement of water. So it may mean that it has to be elevated slightly more than traditionally. In some instances, I've had some experience from tennis facilities. They want to keep it, in essence, just raised slightly from the surface. This may be an instance where it has to be raised more than traditional of 4 to 6 inches. May have to perhaps, Mike hasn't had a full opportunity to review that proposal, and they haven't provided us exactly what they're proposing. But again, if you're practicing, you have to hit the ball over the net. So I've been involved in some where the bottom of the wall ball starts at net height.
May I pass out
Yeah.
images of what we're proposing? And this is one that I found, and we can find others and make modifications, but this one
Because
has-
you're in the floodplain, what he's probably going to show you is going to be a line
This one has
representative of the net.
separation.
Yeah.
There may be a requirement from a floodplain perspective that from that line down,
Right, that has to be open?
that has to be open.
But I would imagine that that is going to greatly degrade the purpose of that wall because they're practicing for a reason, because they can't get it over that net every time. And they're gonna want that ball back so they don't have to have 100 balls there so they can practice.
But you could still design it with another type of net that allows water flow and non-obstruction.
Permeable or something.
There's still chain link, so it doesn't mean the ball goes through it. It just
Right.
means the ball doesn't come back to it.
Right.
Has this project gone to conservation?
Yes.
What was their comment?
This wasn't on the board at that point, so if there's one existing, we weren't removing, we were removing it and we weren't putting it back.
You saved it for us.
The discussion just happened to come up and when realization that, oh, did we want to?
No, yeah.
Our athletic director, Jeff Finney, after the meeting we had several weeks ago where Kevin pointed out that that wasn't something that he was customarily seeing as a common thing in his newer projects, went back and checked with both the boys and girls tennis coaches, and there was a lot of feedback, and that's what he just relayed to us Friday, that there is a strong feeling about it, and so that's why it was something that we thought we could address through an alternate or something of that nature.
Is that going to have to go back to?
The Conservation Commission is not the regulatory authority associated with floodplain management. The Zoning Commission is. And Mike's your floodplain manager.
Okay.
Well, I'm just thinking out loud right here, but if we were to treat it like a flood fence, under the design standards of flood fence, you'd have to be within a foot of the finished grade. So if this wall were to start at, as Jamie kind of indicated, anywhere from 8 to 12 inches above, we could be providing the adequate opening for the conveyance of stormwater in the time of a 100-year storm event.
You're saying that what's there is a foot?
I'm just using numbers.
Well, Mike's trying to, there is a calculation in order to allow freeboard for, in a 100-year storm, water needs to flow north and south unobstructed. The chain link fence does not obstruct that.
Right.
So if the tennis courts were at elevation 100, and the
Yep.
100-year floodplain was at 102, there would have to be 2 feet of freeboard before that obstruction can start.
Is there,
And that's what he would have to evaluate.
do we know what that is?
The base flood elevation in that area, yeah, we can.
But if the commission moved forward and made any motion in a favorable manner, they could make a motion that would allow the installation, so long as a plan was provided to staff, reviewed and approved with regards to obstructions within the floodplain. Without giving you a number tonight.
Okay,
Certification from
That seems fair enough. I don't have any other question. I think that was the biggest question.
There's no rise certificate. Being a youth sports coach, having the right tools makes the job a lot easier. So that's why I'm trying to protect it as best as I can without obviously going afoul of.
it's not like we're building a Chinese wall.
Huh?
It's only a little section of the,
Yeah, it's
That
only a
side.
portion, and if you go see what's out there now, that's a wooden wall all the way up and down. So
Right.
this would be a newer material, sound dampening, and it could, the one I show you has a foot gap, but I'm sure there's
Yeah.
ways to design it.
We just have to do it to code. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
how close is that to the houses that are on the west side?
Well, so there's you have the oval of the track, then you have the grandstand, and then the property lines behind that. So if this banquet court is staying on its pad, there's no improvements closer to that property line. This other set of courts here is actually moving further away. And then back here, you have Hopbrook, and you have the crossing to more athletic fields, so you have open space.
Where's the baseball field?
To the right.
Baseball field is all the way down to the right.
Yeah, that's sitting on the corner of what's now the soccer field.
Yeah, so this is the limits of an existing soccer field here. This is an old, I think, softball field site that's just been greening versus grass.
It's obviously, it depends on the season, it's multi-use. It also houses rugby and other wonderful sports.
Okay,
Is there any lighting with this?
No.
Cool.
did we ask for the public's input on this?
I think we have. DFE's in 207, right?
We have none. Okay, any further questions of the commission?
Yeah.
Can we close this public hearing?
Jamie, if we close it, how do we have to phrase what we're going to do before we close it again?
No.
No, okay.
Mr. Chairman, to answer Mr. Gray's question, the purpose of the public hearing is for you to receive oral and written comments from the public. If you feel you have sufficient information that has been received during the hearing to allow you to make a decision, you may feel comfortable closing the hearing. Once the hearing's closed, you act on the information before you. It does not allow you to have access to the applicant anymore. You do have access to staff.
Happy with that?
I make a motion, we close application 1719, and then turn off my phone. I apologize for that. I thought I put it in.
Seconded by Kevin, motion made by Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Okay, we've closed all the public hearings. Can we, I'd like to suggest that we change the agenda to move 1717, consideration above at the beginning of old business. We'll take that up next. We have a motion to do that.
So move.
Second it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, so let's consider application 1717 of Ferg Jansen.
No issues with this one?
Mr. Chairman, what about 1716?
Pardon? We haven't touched 1716 yet,
Okay.
I think that's in the order. Ferg's here.
right?
Do you have the application? Do you have the time on there? Just so we state it correctly?
For 17:7?
Yes, please.
So make sure
The
that
application states 4:30 to 7 p.m.
4:30 to 7,
PM is on the application form.
But the applicant in
Wants
their
it to be
testimony.
7:30.
The applicant unfortunately can't speak at this time.
right.
We didn't hear him.
We didn't hear him. but- I hear a motion to approve that application with a,
Did we have a,
do we have a motion?
good staff? Do we have a motion on this one?
Yes,
Could you share it with us?
Where is it?
it's under yours.
Should be in your stack, but it's not. 1717 is not in our stack.
Staff provided a motion for approval, subject to the following conditions. One, the approvals for a liquor permit for a one-day event to be held on June 14th, 2017. Second, the event shall start at 4:30 PM and end at 7 PM.
Can we add one condition?
Add the rain date.
Yes,
as the-
please.
For the 15th. With, I would say then for your first condition, the condition approvals for a liquor permit for a temporary one-day event to be held on June 14th, 2017, with a rain date of June 15th, 2017.
And I think
Well,
we
will
had extend
Make
that.
that motion.
I will second that.
How about extending the time?
Is that in our purview?
You have an application
Half an
Yeah.
hour?
that says 7 PM, and you have a hearing notice.
And that's what the notice said. That's why I asked what the time was, because that's what I read on the application.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I don't think we have the facility to change the time, to amend the time, the end time.
What do you think?
Up to staff.
Yeah, I mean, we can make a motion to,
You have the ability as a commission to make a motion. Staff is only advising you of what was on the application.
right. Should
Public
somebody
he-
challenge
The
it?
public hearing
we might
notice
lose.
referenced
But he did state it in the,
the application.
Yeah, in his testimony, he stated 7:30.
Yeah, in his testimony, he stated 7:30. I would think,
I'll
we
make the motion till amend my motion to 7:30 then.
I'll second that.
okay, I think we should, any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So then do we go back to
Go back to
1712?
1712, I think the text amendment people left. So let's go back to 1712, Land Works. We have an anxious,
He's been waiting forever.
waiting for months.
He just wants to see us.
Okay, let's take up 17-12, site plan amendment. Now, where's my,
Mr. Chairman, you have
Yes.
a staff report and a recommended motion. And the applicant is also present this evening.
yes. I have a plethora of, there, I have 1718,
Do you want it?
1719.
I think that was one of the ones you gave us late. wasn't it?
Where's it up here? Well, let's- Okay, staff is recommending that you approve this application with the following conditions of approval. I think we've all heard about this, discussed it enough. Does someone want to make the motion?
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve application 1712 of Landworks / Highcroft Simsbury LLC, owner for a site plan amendment for modifications to a prior approval on the property located at 225 Powder Forest Drive. The special exception approval is subject to the following conditions of approval. 1, a pre-construction meeting is required before the start of site work. 2, final plans with all approved modifications shall be submitted to the planning department before start of site work. Said plans are to be signed and stamped by a professional engineer, licensed landscape architect, and surveyor. No site work is to occur until said drawings are filed with the planning department. 3, minor field adjustments to grading and landscaping may be made based on field conditions upon written approval from the town planner who has been given the authority on behalf of the town zoning commission to act on their behalf.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Jackie. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 4-0. Thank you.
I still letters, doesn't say who has to be in the pre-construction. Do their own.
Right. Okay, we've got application 1716 of Lisa Natcharian and Chris Millard.
Mr. Chairman, based on testimony received tonight and discussions during the public hearing, staff would recommend, if you were to entertain a favorable motion, that the term in the first paragraph, which reads now, catering of food and alcohol shall be allowed, that you strike the words "and alcohol." So that sentence would read, catering of food shall be allowed. And then under the next sentence, small event center uses shall include the following, that sentence be reworded to read, small event center includes the following. Again, it's a legislative act by the commission, requires a 3/4 favorable vote of your commission. So
We have
that's a
2/3.
6-member commission.
So
Unanimous.
You would need 4 favorable votes to pass the text amendment.
Well, that's 2/3. That's not 3/4.
You need 4 of 6.
We need 4 of 6.
4 of
Oh, okay.
6.
We have
Yeah.
it unanimous tonight.
Yep. You want to make the motion?
Yeah, just so,
Or do we have questions?
well, I'm not just sure, how do I make the motion now? We'll just note the 2 changes that we talked about there. Okay. Mr. Chairman, regarding application 1716 of Lisa Natcharian and Chris Millard, agents for proposed text amendment to section 4.2 and section 4.3.3 of the Simsbury Center Code to create an additional allowed use entitled Small Event Center, I move we approve that text amendment with the following changes, that we delete the words "and alcohol" from the sentence, catering of food shall be allowed, and then small events center includes the following, those 2 changes.
Second.
Further discussion, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 4-0. Thank you. Okay, next is application 1718, park improvements. Do we have I got more pieces of paper. Does anybody find something on that?
Yep, I have it.
You have it. Good. Why don't you make it?
Great. I will make a motion to approve application 1718 of Kevin Fusilier, L.A., Malone, and McBloom, applicant, Town of Simsbury, owner, for special exceptions pursuant to Article 7, Section A4, uses permitted as a special exception in any zone, Article 7, Section M, floodplain zone, and Article 10, Section C.1.f, sign standard by zones of the Town of Simsbury zoning regulations in connection with the Town Forest Park Improvement Project on the property located at 86 Town Forest Road. The special exception approval is subject to the following conditions of approval. Number 1, a pre-construction meeting is required before the start of site work. Number 2, an administrative zoning permit is required. Number 3, sign is not to be illuminated. Number 4, all conditions of approval associated with the application CC 17-04 are incorporated in the approval of ZC 17-18. And number 5, minor field adjustments to grading and landscaping may be made based on field conditions upon written approval from the town planner, who has been given the authority on behalf of the town zoning commission to act on their behalf.
Second by Kevin. Any discussion or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay, application 1719 of Kevin Fusilier. This is the tennis court. Any discussions or comments about it?
All right, I'll read it.
Go for it.
You got it?
Why not? We can all read tonight.
Okay.
Except for the chairman, he has special privileges. I make a motion to approve application 1719 of Kevin Fusilier, L.A., Malone and McBroom, Inc., applicant Simsbury Public Schools, owner for a special exception pursuant to Article 7, Section A.4. Uses permitted as a special exception in any zone, and Article 7, Section M, floodplain zone of the Town of Simsbury zoning regulations in connection with the reconstruction of tennis courts located at Simsbury High School on the property located at 34 Farms Village Road. The special exception approval is subject to the following conditions of approval. 1, a pre-construction meeting is required before the start of site work. 2, the administrative zoning permit is required. 3, all conditions of approval associated with the application, CC 17-05, are incorporated in the approval of ZC 17-19. 4, minor field adjustments to grading and landscaping may be made based on field conditions upon written approval from the town planner, who has been given the authority on behalf of the town's zoning commission to act on their behalf.
Can you add a
Yeah.
section,
About the wall.
Oh, yeah, and 5, that,
I can give you wording in a moment.
Oh, great.
an awesome wall that allows water through it.
Slightly elevated.
That can bounce balls back
Slightly elevated.
and let water flow through in a 100-year.
Permeable.
In a
permit
100-year
the
flood.
construction of a bounce board, provided that the clearance between the ground and the bounce board,
According to rec.
Ball wall.
According to rec.
be according to the floodplain, floodway, as approved by,
No, Jamie's going to give us verbiage.
oh, you're going to give us verbiage?
Yes, he said give it.
But I like that you're feeding him, some ideas to.
Like he does dictation.
Mr. Chairman, recommendation is add a statement that a backboard/ball return may be installed upon submission of a detailed plan to the zoning commission and reviewed and approved by staff, so long as staff determines that the installation of the wall does not conflict with the 100-year floodplain requirements.
Well written,
Okay.
Mike.
Got that, Mike? It's in there.
I rocked it.
Rocked it. Good.
Second.
Second by Kevin. Any further discussion on this?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? 4-0 carries. Careful with the backboard. Okay, we have old business, application 1712 of,
Oh, 20.
20.
what am I doing?
We already did 12.
It's the revised agenda, probably.
1712, we did, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. 1720. Marshall's here. Okay, application 1720. Has staff got some comments on this? that they can tell us?
We did have this before design review this evening. Design review had in essence two recommendations. One, that the side lights associated with the proposed door and entrance, that basically mullions be added to that, so it's not just plate glass, that it has the appearance of divided light within those side lights. And the second is that it's clear that the trim is minimum 1x6 along the base and rake boards associated with the construction of the building.
Facade columns be red,
So-
just like the building.
Also, the columns are red to match the proposed red color of the siding. Just for clarity, the red is going to match the barn, and the roof, which is proposed to be green, matches the existing roof
Green
colors
metal.
on the barn.
Aluminum or steel or
So-
whatever it
So
is.
do we have to add that in our approval,
Yes.
those three things?
Which barn?
Okay. So you got it?
Can
Somebody,
Kevin, you have mine.
somebody want to make a motion here?
I think Jackie did.
I'm just going to add the conditions. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve application 1720 of Jeremy Burrill, applicant Sandra Bork and Marshall Epstein, owners, for a site plan amendment to change the location and size of the previously approved proposed wine production building on the property located at 25 East Weetog Street. The special exception approval is subject to the following conditions of approval. A pre-construction meeting is required before the start of site work. 2, an administrative zoning permit is required. 3, applicant shall provide a copy of permit from Farmington Valley Health District in order for issuance of a zoning permit. 4, minor field adjustments to grading and landscaping may be made based on field conditions upon written approval from the town planner, who has been given the authority on behalf of the town zoning commission to act on their behalf. And 5 is...
Match the recommendations of design review associated with color and material choices.
Good.
I'll second.
Second by Jackie. Any further comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay, application 1721 of Land Works Carson Way LLC.
Just made you wait.
Save the best for last, right?
Now, do we have a
Yeah.
motion on that?
Mr. Chairman, in your
Way.
packet,
Up on the, is it 23 or 12? The roadway. We ended up on all of this.
23, the fire marshal was in agreement.
Okay, and everyone else was in agreement with
That
that?
was the prior application, it was just approved, but.
Yeah, I know. I meant to ask at that time, but I didn't. And I thought I saw it in there.
Okay, so I think we're ready for a motion on this one.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve application 1721 of Land Works Carson's Way LLC, owner for a site plan amendment for a modification to the prior site plan approval to include a tot lot to be located within the permitted development area east of the mail center on the property located on Carson Way, east of the mail center at the entrance of Stratton Brook Road. The special exception approval is subject to the following conditions of approval. 1, a pre-construction meeting is required before the start of site work. 2, an administrative zoning permit is required. 3, limits of clearing and disturbance are to be marked and approved in the field before the start of the site work by the zoning enforcement officer. 4, the perimeter controls such as plantings and/or fence shall be provided along the northern boundary of the tot lot. Plans are to be modified to incorporate such changes and approved by the Director of Planning. 5, minor field adjustments to grading and landscaping may be made based on field conditions upon written approval from the Director of Planning, who has been given the authority on behalf of the town's zoning commission to act on our behalf.
Second.
Second by Jackie. Some more comments? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Application 1723 of Howard Spargo. This is an application for an accessory dwelling unit, and we need to set a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, your next regularly scheduled meeting is June 19, 2017. Staff will make a recommendation. You schedule the hearing for that evening in the Town Hall main meeting room,
At 7 PM.
7 p.m.
Somebody want to make the motion?
Sure. Make a motion for application 17-23 of Howard Spargo, Spargo Construction, agent Shadowbrook Farms LLC owner, for a special exception. Pursuant to Article 7, Section C9 of the Town of Simsbury zoning regulations for an accessory dwelling unit on the property located at 27 Shadowbrook, map B06, block 203, lot 103, zone R-160. And this is for a hearing scheduled for June 19th at 7 PM here at Town Hall.
Second.
Second by Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, carries. Next is an application 1724 of Charlie Kaler for a sign permit for his new office in Remax. It's at 552 Hot Meadow Street. Somewhere there's... This was discussed at the
Mr. Chairman,
review tonight?
this was on the agenda for design review this evening. Design review made a favorable recommendation to the zoning commission with a few caveats. With regard to their discussion and moving the project forward to you as the zoning commission, they gave a favorable review and recommendation for approval of the ground sign, the proposed 34 by 48 ground sign that's shown in your packet. They did not make a favorable recommendation on the roof-mounted sign. There's a provision within the regulations that requires subsequent signs past 1990 to conform to the existing regulations. Any changes to or refurbishing of an existing sign has to be done in a conforming manner. Roof signs in your current regulations are not allowed. You allow wall signs and ground-mounted signs. So they did not approve the 22 by 84 inch, I'll say roof-mounted sign. In its place, they made a recommendation to allow staff to review a proposed sign that would hang from the eaves of the entry vestibule, similar to the signage approved at Ideal Weight Loss and for Drake Oil next to Starbucks. And they would recommend that staff can do that at the administrative level versus a new application back to design review or a new application back to zoning. So I guess the recommendation to zoning was to approve the ground sign and then authorize a subsequent application to be submitted to zoning commission staff for the potential to permit two signs under the eaves flanking the entrance door to the right or left.
The current sign was approved after the date you said.
Perhaps someone didn't read section F within your sign code.
Yeah, we approved that unanimous thing.
Yeah, not that long.
8 or 9 years ago, yes.
More recently than that, I think. But what do we think?
And just for clarity, Kevin, Section 7F on page 98 and other regulations appears on page 97. No sign shall be erected. This is sign prohibitions. The following signs are prohibited. No sign shall be erected, altered, refurbished, or otherwise modified after the effective date 1990 of this regulations, except in accordance with these regulations and after receipt of a sign permit issued by the zoning enforcement officers. Signs which are lawfully non-conforming with respect to these regulations may be maintained or repaired without the need for a permit from the zoning enforcement officer, except that signs shall not be changed in any manner which would increase their non-conformity. So again, allow someone to keep what they have, refurbish it, and maintain it, but not to modify or change it.
So does
There was a
painting it?
proposed change, yeah.
So putting up a replacement that was the exact same would be modifying or changing it? Couldn't that be construed as repairing it?
It's not a repair. And design review went through kind of that discussion.
Those iterations.
And the applicant was, I'll use the term comfortable, because Charlie's not here this evening, but comfortable with moving his project along with the ground sign and then the ability to potentially do the two signs under the eaves, which would be in compliance with the design guidelines as well as the zoning code. So potentially they even discussed, and staff supported the fact that just one blade sign under the eaves on the left-hand side of the entrance wouldn't be balanced, because it's I want to say historically it was probably a federal house with a door on one side. Someone added the porch, put the door in the center. And typically they're very balanced and proportional. The way the home sits now, it's very balanced and proportional. There's central door, exact spacing for window placement. So again, one blade sign on the left that may say Remax, and then on the right, it perhaps would say sales and rentals. And design review was comfortable with staff's ability to make a determination on architecturally appropriate in that location.
Seems like we went out of our way somehow to do that not so long ago, but
Actually, I can't remember whether design review approved it or not approved it.
the last time around, I don't remember either. But if the applicant is happy with the alternative, I think that's fair enough.
Yep.
Somebody want to make a motion to approve the ground sign?
And the ability to add
Proposed hanging sign.
hanging signs on the eaves? What was the?
Under the eaves.
Should we ask him to come back with that, or?
No, we would
Design
allow-
review was comfortable having staff make a decision. And again, the reference to that was of similar style to the ideal weight loss that was approved by design review and the zoning commission, as well as originally Drake Oil, which was approved by design review and the zoning commission. I would say staff would not make a determination for anything that they would feel the zoning commission or design review would not be comfortable with.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve application 1724 of Charlie Kaler, Kaler Real Estate, owner for a sign permit for Remax Communities on the property located at 552 Hot Meadow Street, Assessors Map G12, Block 132, Lot 032, Zone B1, for the ground sign as included in the application, and for under eave signs like the ones we approved for ideal weight loss on the Starbucks building.
Second.
We need to say that staff will be able to approve it?
With
That would be help with clarifying the motion.
Add to the motion that, subject to staff.
Submit it to the zoning commission, but it can be approved by staff,
By town staff.
by planning director.
Yeah.
Got that?
Thank you, and I'll, again, second it.
Second by Jackie. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you.
Sorry for my,
Good work.
yeah, right.
Okay. Mr. Rabbit, do we have general commission business?
Under general commission business, a couple of updates for you. Again, revisions are still in the process and ongoing. Our workload has been substantial, as your agenda probably alludes to, as well as other items that are ongoing within the community associated with existing development, proposed development, both within the purview of the zoning commission, planning commission, or other state agencies on certain projects. Now, with regards to the workforce housing moratorium, again, I've been working on language to, in essence, land that zone in its present location, to create a workforce housing zone, which would be located on Hoskins Road. And any subsequent location, in essence, would be requiring the rezoning of a property to a workforce housing overlay zone. Again, I would say it still would always allow someone to apply for a workforce housing, a zone change, basically, but it wouldn't be a floating zone. So I
They've
hope
started
that-
site work there?
No, we just had we, being the department, Mike, had the ability to meet with them this past Friday in a manner to review the conditions of their permit and remind them of the items that they need to resolve prior to undergoing construction on the site.
So they've just done the clearing, but not any site
They've
work?
done the clearing. In essence, some people can clear land, cut trees. They have not grubbed the site. They did a small apron entrance, but someone can apply to the town for a curb cut permit to access their property. So they haven't moved beyond that. They still have items associated with providing a pedestrian means of pedestrian travel between their development and the existing trail, as well as providing a affordability plan and finalizing that. And just a few, they provided easement language for drainage recently, which was approved by council. And there's, again, we're in the process of dotting i's and crossing t's with the applicant.
Anything else?
The two things potentially to report, or upcoming meetings, there is a open, we'll say, forum on the potential solar project on Hoskins Road this Wednesday evening, as well as a public meeting on the proposed plan of conservation and development on June 13th. And that will be held at the library at 7 p.m.
Solar?
The draft
The solar
plan.
thing is at Eno, right?
The solar was originally planned for the library, but moved to Eno
5:30.
at 5:30. So, some town staff will be there, and I believe at least one representative of the potential applicant to the siting council from Deepwater, Inc.
Yeah. The town attorney will be there?
And council.
Cool.
Our town attorney. And again, that process is with the siting council.
Right.
Yep, oh yeah.
Any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Move we adjourn?
Second?
Second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So Mike, I left these, these are for the next meeting, so I don't want to toss them. Okay, so those are pretty complete. Do you want to?